Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Madness Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Silverline Sunday for Silverline Comics. I am Chris Fujita, and with me today are Peter Clinton and Thomas Ho Ho Ho.
Howdy do, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
I didn't think about spicing up my name.
I know, right?
Yeah, you got to come up with something. You can still change it. What do you want to change it to?
No, I'm not changing now. It's too late now.
Too late. All right.
Well, before we get to it and we talk about everything, first of all, let's go around and introduce ourselves. So let's start. Peter's earlier in the morning, so let's start with Peter. Peter, if you'd be so kind as to.
Is it earlier in the morning or later at night?
It's early morning now.
Is that what you call it? Okay, all right.
That's what I call it, considering it's gone past midnight.
Oh yeah.
It's 1 a.m. Yeah. Hi everybody. I'm the penciler on Silverline Team Up, champion Miss Fury. Trump's issue 4 of Trump's, finishing off the run. What else? Oh, there's we've got a story in the Christmas special that's shipped this week, maybe. And some other stuff. But yeah, that's what I do for Silverline. So that's me.
Very good. And let's go ahead and let's hop on over to Tommy Florimonte. Tommy, if you could go ahead and tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Thomas Flormonte Jr. Doing comics since the early '90s. Pretty much mostly inking, but I do penciling, writing, coloring, publishing, printing. Just the chopping the trees down, squishing the ink into toner. Pretty much making glue for the books, bending the metal to make the staples for everything. But um, working with Mr. Pete over on the Team Up book.
Oh, yes.
Also, yep. I mean the inker on that, and I'm also inked Mr. Pete on the Christmas book, which did I believe a lot of them shipped out. I know last earlier this week, Roland, the head honcho, came by and picked up the books and shipping them out. I've seen some people on Facebook's already got their books. So all you people out there that are complaining that the USPS post office is doing a poor job, I think you can pound sand because because he just picked up the books the other day and they're already in people's hands. So that's pretty quick. And I doubt Roland went and delivered them by hand. So
No.
I believe I'm inking Pete on the Trumps Part 4, and then but currently I'm inking the Rejects, Oversee Michael Lanning. If we do any sharing, I'll probably share some of the inks on that, and then that'll be kickstarted in January, but I don't know anymore. January, and I'm also co-owner of Kablam Digital Printing. So there you go, boom, bam, done.
Wow.
There it is. And then for myself, I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I'm also a martial arts instructor. And so I'm combining my two passions. I'm doing the comic book Shadow Ghost for Silverline Comics. It's the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. So that's me. You may be wondering, where's Roland? Roland's always around during Sunday, but he is doing a little bit.
We fired him.
Exactly. We had him. It just wasn't working out. It was mute.
No, it wasn't working out. He was stuck around way too long. It's time to kick him to the curb.
Exactly. In fact, he's trying to get into the live stream right now, and we just blocked him. So it is what it is.
That's right. That's right. And I think he tried to come in as a different name. We saw his IP address, so we just completely blocked that whole IP. I think he's over in Arkansas right now, Arkansas for the rest of everybody. And so we blocked everybody from Arkansas right now. They can't come in.
So it's official. The inmates are running the prison right now. So it's going to be a crazy evening. But in reality, Roland's celebrating with family out of town, a little bit of an early holiday. So we wish him all the best, and I'm sure he'll be back very soon, probably next week or so. So anyways, before we get to it, today's topic, I'll go ahead and share with everybody, is I thought would be kind of a fun one. Oftentimes we start with a specific topic and then it just spirals into a whole conversation. So we'll say our starting topic and then whatever it is, it becomes, but would be recommendations. I figured we go through different things like comic books or movies, and we just kind of recommend what are our top picks, what things we like, what we like about them, and just kind of go from there. And those of you in the chat, feel free to chime in if you have any questions or thoughts to suggest what we could recommend. And then also, if you have any recommendations, we'd be very curious to hear what your thoughts are. And before we get to that, though, let's talk about George Perez, because such a shockwave got sent through our industry and through our community. And George Perez, one of the most phenomenal, celebrated, and well-deserved celebrated artists of our time and any time in comic books, basically announced that he was diagnosed with terminal cancer and has a short time left, according to his healthcare providers. So, our hearts go out to him, the whole family, everybody that enjoys his work, that was touched by his work. I just have to say, what an amazing class act, how he's handling this adversity in such a public fashion and with such dignity and grace is just to be absolutely commended. Sorry to start with the downer, but it's important stuff for all of us, So I don't know if anybody else has anything else to share, thoughts, stories, if you met him, anything.
I was introduced to him a couple of times at different shows, but he doesn't know me from a bump on a log, but he's always seemed to be a great guy. I know a lot of people. Stephen Butler is really that's one of his all-time heroes. I mean, he is for me too. You know, all this stuff has been just fabulous. But yeah, it looks like it doesn't look great. So it's not. What did he say? He's got a few months. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
6 months, something like that.
Mhm.
But he's going to put on. Apparently, he's going to try to do one last little show, and he is from Florida. I don't know. I think he's the Central Florida area, somewhere around here. So, you know,
Well,
I know.
he said today he's driving down to Florida because his parents live in Florida, so he's going to go and see them.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if it's kind of like when, you know, at the end for Stan Lee, where, you know, they were you know, propping him up at shows
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, I don't, you know, I'd like to go, but you know, like I said, I'm not, I don't, he doesn't know me, I don't know him, but it'd be neat to say, you know, I love you one more time, but he doesn't know me, so why? That seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you know, I mean, he kept, you know, so much of like everybody's work,
mm-hmm.
and just
Yep.
phenomenal artist. I mean, and storyteller. I mean, you know, there's people that have style, there's people that have substance, there's people in between, and then there's George Perez, right? Who, my goodness, I mean, the level of detail, the quality of storytelling, off the charts. I mean, you know, of all, you know, and you should know who he is. If you don't, I mean, obviously Teen Titans, you know, Avengers, and so many of the most important books, you know. Any favorite, anything stand out for either one of you as far as a book that, you know, George Perez did that, you know, inspired you or kind of,
You know, nothing for me really. Not one thing. It's just all of it. But with the style that what he did when he I love the way that when he drew stuff, he put so much stuff into the pictures. I think it's where my buddy Steven got to where he draws that stuff, where he just ends up drawing so much stuff inside each one of the things. And I'm like, whenever I eat Steven on something, I'm like, Steven, quit being George Perez, quit drawing all that stuff. We don't need all that stuff in there. Now you think Pete draws a whole lot of stuff into stuff. What do you?
Yeah.
Steven just keeps drawing and drawing and drawing. It's like you got to yank the paper out from under him. It's like, you're done, Steven. You quit drawing. Give me this thing. Let me finish. Let me ink it. I don't want to spend an extra 5 hours inking stuff that, you know, he draws the, you know, background rocks and then draws all the little bumps on the rocks and then draws the little sand in between the bumps on the rocks. And then that's kind of just all that detail. That's what I love about it.
I remember the JLA Avengers, like the only time they've ever done it. Have you read that?
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Oh, phenomenal. And
just because you're as a fan, like, oh yeah, I want to know who wins in these. Who comes out in this? That's what I wrote. And because I never thought they'd do this. When I found it, I thought, I can't believe they do this. And they've never done it since.
Yeah.
One off.
For me, it was, I mean, all the above. But I think personally, one of the cool ones is he did illustrate. He did pencil one of the books for Malibu, which was Ultra Force.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Malibu's version of the Avengers, and then I think he even did the Ultra Force versus Avengers crossover. And it's kind of cool. Like, you're working at a company, and you know Malibu is doing their superhero thing. Once George Perez is on one of the books, then you really feel like you're in a real proper superhero comic book company. You know, so just yeah. I always remember the hair. I always remember like his hair. He just had that perfect mastery of like getting the silhouette of the hair and then the actual little details and stuff like that. You know, so all those things. So our hearts go out to George Perez and his family. You know, despite kind of the dire circumstances, you know, we wish him all the best and hope that, you know, things course correct and you know, we just admire him for his work and also how he handles everything. You know, I've never heard anybody say in the industry nothing but a kind word about him.
No, he's one of those guys that everyone loves and respects, isn't he?
Yeah. And spoiler, comic book business, little petty sometimes. So if you're able to be somebody that that you know the cream rises to the top on, I mean, hey, you know that speaks volumes. So again, So now we'll get to the subject at hand. So recommendations. So I figured I'd just throw out some categories. Fellas, you can chime in on if you have other ideas, but these could be things that are well known, things that are kind of specific to what you like or that people may not know of. So obviously let's start with comic books. It could be like
Silverline Team Up is a very.
It is a great looking. Yeah, that's a
You want to
good
be
book.
reading that.
Yeah, I hear those guys are pretty good.
No, it's not that good. Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Well, let's say let's be more specific. Non-Silverline superhero comic book series that you guys like. Could be past or current.
Okay, I'll stop now. What do I? Looking around, I like so much. I don't know if you're reading the current Reckless series by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Which one was it?
So they do.
Nice.
Can you see what I see now?
Yeah, that's a great. Let's get you
the Reckless series. There's two. There are two out so far. There's Reckless, is the first one.
Okay.
And Friend of the Devil.
Oh, those are great.
They're like really noirish. They do the noirish stuff really well, and they're really great reads. You read that I just fly through them. They're so good. But anything those guys do, that little team, Brubaker and Phillips,
nice.
Criminal.
Who's publishing it?
Image.
Image. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I recommend checking those out because they're really fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, anything those guys do, I enjoy those. They're very recent. I think that came out. The second one came out last month.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they've been working together for years. What else? What else am I really enjoying at the moment? That's a good question. I'm really enjoying Supergirl at the moment by Tom King.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really Tom King and I don't know how I'm going to say her name wrong. Bilquis Everly. That's a really beautiful book, and it's a really fresh take on Supergirl. She's just on an adventure, trying to track down this bad guy for this this young girl that he's killed her father, and she wants revenge, but of course she's too young, and she kind of stumbles across Supergirl, who's off planet celebrating her birthday under a red sun, so she has no powers, just being normal. And she hires her to take revenge for her, and she's like, "Well, okay, I'll bring him to justice." And in the first issue, because she has no powers, he's able to get a jump on her and shoots Crypto.
Oh, really?
So she's now really, really pissed off, and she's like, and they're pursuing him across the galaxy. They're pursuing him and trying to. Hi, Roberta.
Hi there.
But yeah, really good. I'm really enjoying what Supergirl.
You see my convalescent cat? Maybe you can't. Not quite. Kitty. No, he's sitting down too much.
Roberta, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let them know who you are?
Hi, I'm Roberta Conroy. I am the colorist for Cat and Mouse and the Silverline Team Up champion in Miss Fury. And I guess I've been coloring since the pandemic. Lately, I've been joining Silverline, and this is a really great home for me. But I was originally in Malibu Comics back in the 90s, and I was then we went to Marvel after that for a short time, and then I've been a graphic designer from that point on. That's me. So,
excellent. And what happened to your cat? What you said?
What happened? He ate a mat. It stayed in his stomach in sharp pieces.
Oh, boy.
And
oh gosh,
that was very traumatizing for everybody.
Wow. So did they have to do surgery?
The vet X-rayed him and said, we can probably assume that it would hurt him more to let it go. It could get in his digestive tract,
Wow.
and cut through places it shouldn't. So
Yeah.
surgery had to happen.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
How's he doing?
he recovered. I think he seems more himself now.
Okay.
So I think he's okay. He's this is I would say the beginning of the third week for him. So the first week was very tough because he was you know how cats are supposed to jump and he's supposed to be restricted from all that. So he got really frustrated with being cooped up. And then of course I don't know what the pain meds to him were, but I have a feeling he was high the whole time. His behavior was odd.
Well, we just went through the same thing. Well, similar thing in our place. So our cat had to go into surgery and have part of his tail amputated. So yeah. Yeah, so for those of you that know me on social media, we posted pictures. We went to Maui, and it was supposed to be this grand, relaxing vacation, and it was, I would say, it was like National Lampoon's Vacation. It was like one crazy
One thing after another.
Yeah, the pictures don't tell the full story, but we the plane landed on the tarmac, and of course we turned on our cell phones. We didn't even exit the plane, and we got these panicked text from our cat sitter saying the cat got his tail got degloved, and we have to get it amputated, and we didn't.
You're like, what?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, his tail got caught in the door, and he kept. And it just.
Oh, ow.
To the bone, so it looked like a
I am cringing now. Poor baby.
Yeah. So, but he's doing good. But I know what you mean. He's a kitten, and we're trying to keep him from not running and jumping and being crazy, and it's a thing. So
yeah, it's hard, right?
Yeah, and and those vet bills, no fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it.
Exactly.
Pre-Christmas vet bills, mind you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, we picked him up from the cat sitter, and he was completely fine, even though he was all messed up, and he was all lovey-dovey with it. And it was like he was so lovey-dovey with the cat sitter. I was like, this is the biggest case of Stockholm syndrome I've ever seen.
Oh, I'm sorry for Kitty.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, my kitty's doing better. He's definitely more himself. He just hates being crated.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's okay.
Well, I don't know if you heard the topic that we're going on, but it was just kind of pretty broad. It's recommendations, and we're just going to go through different kind of things that are your top picks of things, whether it's comic books, movies, video games, what have you. We just started with comic books, so Peter gave some insights and some recommendations. Let's see, Roberta, do you have any specific comic books? It doesn't have to be current; it just could be like your top pick or something that inspired
just
you.
Anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got interested in Daredevil. There was that. So that the writing's good and the drama's good. I guess if I go way back, I really didn't. I didn't have comics in the time frame that would have been the best time, which would be teenage years.
Yeah.
So I feel like, what I gravitated to in my later teens was more like horror comics. So I liked what Innovation was doing.
Okay.
And I had those kind of things. That was fun for me. And I don't know, I think I liked all things Spawn, and I was an avid Spawn reader for many years. And I think I recommend it just, like it started out with coming and going with the story, but I think, it ended up being I don't know, a tale of psychological thrill. You're just wondering about like humanity at some point. Like, what is it? But I think, it's also like trying to figure out what you feel about people doing bad things, I think.
Sure. And I love McFarlane's commitment to everything in that book. I mean, it's like visually, story-wise. I mean,
big and bold, everything.
Right. I mean, people can argue, creative decisions and stuff like that, but he was completely unapologetic. I mean, to have that, I thought Bernie Wrightson had the longest cape on a superhero for a while, and then you see Spawn, and you're like, oh, gosh, this thing's like half of Bed Bath and Beyond is like tailored onto his back. It's crazy.
Well, I like it's its own character
and all kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's like it's got its own life to it that, you know, if you know how to use negative space and drawing your eyes and that kind of thing, just the shapes it made was part of the art.
Yeah, definitely.
That was cool.
Yeah, very
And
good.
then, you know, you got hell. I go with
And you
so,
know, what doesn't get a lot of praise in that was the lettering. The lettering in that was
you know, that is true.
really great.
That
lettering.
is absolutely a big plus for that book because,
Yeah.
you know, without it, you really don't read it properly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge skill,
Yeah.
under acknowledged. I'd say.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's my big recommendation. It's like, you know, people think, oh well, it's a has-been or whatever, but I think
No.
it's a must read.
He's launched a Spawn universe now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely, and very successful from what I hear. You know, very successfully. So that's great. Tommy, how about yourself? What books stand out amongst?
Well, you know, of course, we said it before. It's all the Spider-Man stuff. Just monster. Just love Spider-Man. But you know, as far as what shaped my when I'm not doing this kind of uh, mainstream comic book stuff, you know, I really still just love the old strips.
Mm-hmm.
The Calvin and Hobbes and the Peanuts and all that kind of stuff. And then that kind of leads into, you know, everybody knows my little cartoony style that I like to draw in, and you know, and
Mm-hmm.
Bone had a lot to do with all that, you know, that. But I really like just super, you know, super cartoony books. So really, you know, Peanuts and all that kind of stuff when I was younger. Any particular stories? No, I don't remember anything particular. I think maybe one of my main problems why I don't remember all this stuff unless I do research is the fact, you know, working at Kablam, I see so many books and everything just, you know, we make a joke at the office that everything just blurs together.
Yeah.
You know, I see so much stuff, and so when I have to, you know, if you ask me what Spider-Man story was my favorite, I'm like, let me go back and research it, and then I'll look through, and then I'm going like, remember that story, and then but just recalling all that stuff, I just can't think of it. But you know what? I really love the earlier Image Walking Dead books, you know, up until they got to, and even through the Negan stuff with all the cussing and all that. I just thought that was the funniest stuff. Did y'all ever read any of that when Negan was finally brought into the Walking? Oh yeah, those books. I just love the Walking Dead. I'm a big zombie fan, and you know, having a zombie story that wasn't about the zombies, but the zombies were still there, and it was more about the people than the zombies was really cool, and it was drawn so neat in that black and white style. It looked really good. But when they brought Negan in, it was you know, because I don't know if so, like you said, you guys didn't read it, but he was, unlike the TV show Negan, you know, he cussed all the time. It was F this, F all the time, and it was just the most hilarious thing. And it was that shows you a little bit of my dark side where I thought that was so funny. Even though it was just ridiculous, you know, all the vulgar cussing for no reason whatsoever. It was just funny. But what is your favorite, Mr. Curtis? What did you like?
For me, a couple of good ones were, you know, one of the ones that I think I'll pick one's kind of not everybody's read, but probably has heard of is Frank Miller's Ronin, if you've ever seen that one.
Yep.
Because he had such a fascinating career and transition to his art style. And if you look at Ronin, you can see almost every style that ended up becoming his trademark in that one book. You see elements of Sin City, you see elements of his old Daredevil stuff and everything. And it's like such a weird, fascinating experimental book. So Ronin's really cool. I love Frank Miller. I think it's just the best story.
All things Frank Miller.
Oh gosh, yeah. And then there was this a really obscure one is this one Japanese manga that no, I don't think it ever got translated. And I don't know. I know the name, the Japanese name. I don't know what it translates to, but it's called Shura no Toki, and it was this kind of offshoot of this series about a Japanese boxer. And so they did a mini series about one of his ancestors, and his ancestor was this ninja that came to America in the Wild West. And the storytelling is just phenomenal. I mean, I can't read it, but you can read it visually, and the storytelling is just phenomenal. So those are two really big.
Is it teen oriented or adult oriented?
It's like kind of more teen oriented. You know, it's not some anime and manga gets a little over
That's
the top.
fuzzy.
Yeah, very, but no tentacles, so it's for
Yeah,
everybody.
okay.
But yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but I'm always a big fan of, even though it's so typical Watchmen, I can go back and read that book every year, and it's just so solid. The storytelling, the writing, everything. I absolutely love it with that book. Fascinating. So before we continue, I have I'm gonna go. We have somebody chiming in the chat. While we're doing that, somebody wants to throw up some art so we can let people see.
I've got it. I've got one shared.
You got
already.
one shared?
You have?
I don't see it on the bottom here.
It's yeah.
While you're doing that, I'll read a comment here. Eric says, "Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's cats get better. Thank you." Midnight Nation by J. Michael Straczynski, Divine Right by Jim Lee, and Mortal Girl by Terry Moore are some of the only books that brought me to tears. Have any of you folks read any of those books?
What was the Straczynski one?
Divine Right. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Midnight Nation. I apologize. Midnight Nation by J. Straczynski.
No,
I have not, but I want to look all of those up. I like the titles.
Nice. Well, thank you for that recommendation. Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like when somebody does a mixtape. It's like you kind of find out a lot about somebody by their picks and when you read their books, or what they like. So before we go on, Tommy, maybe you can explain to everybody a little bit about what we're looking at here.
What are we looking at?
This is rejects page number 15. I've been jumping all over the place. Most of it, I think I got like 5 pages left to finish it up. For some reason, I thought I had done this page, but I didn't. I skipped right over it. So this is page 15. These are some of the some of the characters. This is C. Michael Lanning's pencils. Roland he's the writer in Haley over on the Wednesday show. Not the creator, but the artist on Bear. The other book, Bear, however you want to pronounce it. She's doing the coloring on it and doing a great job too. But what's going on? I have no idea because, like I said, I have been jumping around and we can make up some. Let's go. Hello, what you doing, guys? I don't know. What do you want? Blah 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 blah. Here's it. Apparently that's how I write.
That's a good deal right there.
There you go.
Yeah, hey, nice to meet you. But we already know each other. I don't care. You shake my hand. Why are you grabbing my whole arm while you're shaking it? I'm just checking you for landmines. What do you mean landmines? And then we go down here, and he goes, I don't have any landmines. And he goes, yes, you do. Here, let me frisk you. And he goes, yeah, get out of here. Yeah, I'm leaving. There you go. That's that.
And
he says, wait a minute, maybe I do have landmines.
Really selling it there. Good job.
And what Tommy just did is exactly how I used to read Japanese manga back in the day when I would get them from Japantown and couldn't read it. So, Aaron Humphreys, Aaron, come if you want to jump in the chat. We sent the link to our group. Feel free to chime in that way too if you want to jump in. But Aaron says, "I liked Rising Stars by Michael Straczynski."
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Yes, that was really good. Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
thanks, Aaron. I forgot what that was.
Yeah. Another one I'll recommend is, for those of you X-Men fans, one of my favorite X-Men artists is Paul Smith. I think he's completely underrated. Didn't have a long enough run on that series, but if you ever see his X-Men with Chris Claremont, it's really good stuff. Really good stuff. Yeah. So okay. Well, so we got through comic books. How about movies? Any movies that are your all time favorite movies? Movies that you can put on, or if they're on TV and you just happen to turn it, you have to sit down and watch. What are
I'm too old for this.
There are quite a lot. Yeah, I mean,
There's just too many.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
Well,
Lord of the
obviously.
Rings. Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Can I talk about something recent?
Yeah, of course. Any timeline. Anytime. Go for it.
I just found on Netflix Arcane.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes,
I am
Gorgeous.
drooling over it. It is so gorgeous. It is so well written. It is it's animation style, but it's fluid, and it's it feels like motion capture, but with that element of every single shot is cinematic, and the art is so good that you could stop it anywhere and it looks good.
It looks like concept art. That's the thing that's so quick. It looks like
it does
concept art. It's insane. Yeah.
But it's emotional and it's well written. All the characters are, they for someone that did not care about League of Legends could get into it without having any idea of who these people are. It's great.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend checking it out because it takes animation to a level I think I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, I've got no idea what League of Legends is, but I'm enjoying it.
But you don't have to.
Yeah, really well done.
Yeah, definitely. And that's on Netflix, so check it out.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Hyper violent, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But in a really interesting way too. Like everybody's blurring the lines of good and bad, and necessity and power and ambition. It's just got everything.
Oh yeah. I was just watching it last night and it was just like, yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning,
Well, I'm going to have to throw in my Star Wars movies because I'm talking about old stuff. But
all of
because maybe 4, 5, and 6 for sure. And I dig sort of 1, 2, and 3 a little bit. I can watch them whenever they come on. I still just, even though I've got like 20 different versions on different formats of all the movies. Besides, you can go on Disney Plus and watch all the movies. If it's just on something and it just so happens that I flip by it and it's on, I still sit there and watch it anyway. I just addicted to anything Star Wars stuff. But and it's the same for me. It's the same way with the Harry Potter movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It just even though I've watched them, I hadn't watched them as much as I've seen every episode of Star Wars. But whenever they're on, we tend to just leave it there and watch them again. Even though we've seen them all and over and over and make fun of all of the silly things that are going on in them that don't make any sense and all that kind of stuff. And it's just they're just enjoyable. They're so enjoyable to watch. But because it's Christmas, whenever we really enjoy watching all the Santa Claus movies, except for the third one. It's not as cool as the first two. But you guys watch the Tim Allen. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Santa Claus. Pete, do you guys do Christmas over in the UK?
Oh my God.
Every other year.
My God.
I don't know if that's a thing that you guys do over there. What time of year do y'all do that? Y'all do it
everyone else.
in February?
No, same time as you.
Oh, that's 25th. They're like, okay, all right.
And that's Tommy bridging the continental divide.
No, I think Pete started it when he always makes fun of us doing silly holidays and stuff. What do you guys do?
Holidays you have such.
To me, if you get the day off from work, there's really no such thing as a silly holiday.
No, that's true.
I'm fine with that.
But no, we always watch all the Santa Claus. Remember that scene when they're at the Denny's eating the food? Yeah.
Very cool.
Love those shows.
Any
I'm turning it on there right now. Matter of fact, give me the remote. I'll switch over.
for me, movie wise, so many, but I can watch that movie Big Trouble in Little China any
Oh,
day.
yeah.
That is a
That is a
great. Yep.
So good.
yeah.
I hope they don't.
Up there.
Isn't there talks that they're wanting to remake it or whatever? If they do a second one, that'd be stupid. But if they did, that'd be okay. But they can't remake that. That's so good.
Well, they were saying they were going to try and do like I guess what they call a soft
It's
reboot.
an update.
With actual new characters, but I also like Army of Darkness. That's a and I always wanted to pitch this comic book, so I'm going to pitch it now. Would be the crossover of Jack Burton and Ash from Army of Darkness.
Oh my God,
And
that'd
you
be
have-
fun.
And you have Lopan get the Necronomicon, and that's I was trying to pitch this to Dave Olbrich, when he was part of Space
Santa Claus.
when he was at a Space Goat, and they had the rights to Evil Dead. So I was trying to pitch that to him, but I think that would be really cool.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and I was just talking with friends last night. There's a really good documentary. I don't know if any of you saw it, but it's called "Searching for Sugar Man." I think that's what it's called.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely fascinating. And just the broad strokes is that it's about this American musician named Rodriguez, and he in the 60s made this song called Sugar Man and made this one album. And this guy was supposed to be the next big folk singer, the next big Bob Dylan. A lot of buzz about him, and his album critically got a lot of praise, but then it just went nowhere, and he kind of faded into obscurity. What nobody realized is that in South Africa, his album became this part of the zeitgeist of that time.
Really?
And it became like a rallying cry for all the apartheid opposition and all those things going on at that point. And was the album for a generation. He's a legend over there.
Wow.
Yeah, and when he disappeared in South Africa, they were under the impression that all these rumors or crazy stories, like he committed suicide or whatever. So somehow somebody found out about this and found him in Detroit, Michigan, and brought him to South Africa for a concert. And this guy is like, kind of down on his luck, a janitor, and he goes to South Africa, and it's like the Beatles have come back from the grave.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
and you just see him in front of a stadium of people, and it's such a wonderful documentary to see somebody who gets this newfound artistic relevance in the modern day and just appreciate it for what he did. So really,
one to check out for sure.
It's so good as an artist and any type of person that pursues artistic endeavors. Searching for Sugar Man, it's excellent movie.
Thank you.
Yeah. So movies. I see somebody's here. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Aaron Humphreys. Aaron,
We all leave now. Aaron will take over.
I'll take over.
I'm going to give him the single. You can go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. So go for it.
I have to introduce myself now?
Yeah.
Man, I'm the penciler. What was that? I've been penciling Fire Rush, and I am I'll be working at Obsoletes next month, which is coming out. And I am finishing up my own book. I am 10 pages away from finishing it.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So the whole book. So it'll be all done.
Great.
So that is what I've been doing this. And I'm doing that before I jump on the Obsoletes. So yeah.
And which book is that?
This is my Goblins book.
The Goblins. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Very cool. Well, I don't know if you heard the subject for tonight is recommendations. So we're just going through different categories. Everybody kind of gives their recommendations for
like a Christmas recommendation for like gifts or something.
Yeah. If you have an Amazon affiliate link at the bottom of the screen, if you click on it, we all get like 5 cents. So.
You all get commission.
Yeah. But we were talking about movies. It could be ones that you watched recently, ones that are your favorites of all time. What are some movies that you'd recommend, Aaron?
I could tell you some of the ones. My favorite movie is a movie called Never Cry Wolf by Walt Disney.
I remember that.
And that was done in 1983. I think it's 83.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite movie of all time. Let me see what
talk about it a little bit. Like what is it about it that
I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Black Stallion, which is another movie. Same cinematographer, and it's based on Morat. I think his name is Morat. Is a guy who studied. He wrote about wolves and stuff a lot, and so they kind of did a loose interpretation of him going up and studying wolves. And so it's just about a guy who goes up to Alaska to study wolves. Is basically a census that the wolves are destroying the caribou herds up in Alaska in the north. But they don't have any evidence. They send the scientists up to basically dispatch a wolf and examine the content of his stomach to see if the wolf's actually eating the caribou. And then as he goes up, he kind of goes in this sort of spiritual journey of kind of like finding himself or whatever.
Is that what's it called?
Never Cry Wolf.
Right, there's a film on, I think it's Netflix, that sort of sounds very similar.
It could be. I don't think Never Cry Wolf. Let me see. Maybe it is streaming on something.
It's called Into the Dark, and he has the guy from Westworld in it, and basically he's a wolf expert or something, a scientist, and this wolf apparently eats. They start coming into the town, and they've eaten a child or dragged a child off, and he gets sent up to hunt the wolf.
Okay,
it gets really, really weird. I mean, there are
this one is not
this really
weird.
Strange relationship, and they're into. I think they are wolves or something, and it gets trippy. It gets weird.
Oh yeah. This one's not weird. This is more of a like a nature show. But I wonder if it could be based on the same
Into the Dark or something. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, Into the Dark. You have to check it out.
Yeah.
You can only buy it. So if you want to buy this movie, you can find it on YouTube, Amazon, but you do have to buy it. The soundtrack, everything. I've watched that movie so many times. It's crazy.
Well, I remember that was one of like the big Disney Channel original, like first Disney Channel movies. I mean,
that was the first one when they started breaking away from animation, and they started doing different movies like that. Yeah. There's a few movies back in the day. They don't ever show this on Disney Plus because there's like male nudity in it, and so they stay away from that. Fantastic book, but it is a Walt Disney film. They just won't ever put it on Disney Plus or whatever because of what they are now.
Yeah.
So they won't do that. I don't know. I mean, I have big Matrix fan, so I'm excited for the new Matrix coming out.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid any spoiler stuff because I really want to go into it fresh.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things about the Matrix that's interesting. There's a tech demo for the new Unreal 5 engine that just
I have that. I haven't played it yet, but I have it downloaded.
It's pretty cool, and I guess I can say it now because I've been quiet about it. And I don't know who he is in it, but one of my kung fu students is in the movie.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and
That's
it was so funny. This is all pre-COVID because they were ramping up for the movie. So the parents bring this young teenager into my school, and they're like, he's got this movie project.
Yeah,
he's gonna go on. It's martial arts, and we thought we'd bring him to you to train him for it.
No.
So I said, okay, cool. He's gonna go to Europe he's gonna go to Germany to shoot, and they're gonna do the pre-training, but we want him to be like on top of it. So I said, okay, let's do it. And they couldn't tell me at the time, and so
this was it, huh?
Yeah. And so the mom was, I was telling her, well, in order to help him, I need to know a little bit about the film. Like, what's the action? Is it like ancient times or modern? And so she's saying, well, it's a modern time. I said, okay. I said, well, she said, I'll show you some stuff that they had him do on my cell phone. So she shows it to me, and I go, this is like
practice the bullet thing. That's like this. You go, oh, I know what it is.
Yeah, no, it was like, it looked like classical kung fu. So I was really confused, and I said to her, I said, I don't understand. I said, you said it's modern, but all the stuff they're showing him is very classical kung fu. And then finally she just leans over, she goes, okay, I'll tell you, it's the Matrix. So, cool. So
that's awesome.
Yes, I don't know anything more than that. He left. He was about to go just before COVID hit. Things got delayed, and then he went to Germany where they filmed a fair amount of it. And I guess we're doing the pre-production. So I'm curious. We'll see what he was.
And I have no idea if this is the start of a prequel or just a one-off movie. I don't know.
Yeah. It has to be a franchise thing. I mean, like nowadays,
it's a sequel, isn't it? Because
it's a sequel.
It's a sequel. It's only done by one of the siblings.
Yeah,
I think Lana. The other one is not involved.
He was on a talk show here, and they asked him, so, well, how's this working? Because aren't you dead?
Yeah.
Isn't Neo dead in the film? And he's like, yeah, I asked that. That was the first question I asked. She rang me up and said, do you want to do a new Matrix film? He's like, but aren't I dead? I said, are you? I was like, oh, right, okay.
Well, and if you watch the films, that iteration of Neo is dead, but they can always do more iterations.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But
well,
that
that's
one,
right.
but that particular story, and that's what I just assumed when in the movie. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do another iteration of Neo and Into the Matrix, because he was supposed to have happened like 6 times. I think the architect said. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Convenient.
Yeah. I really like Dread. That's another one of my favorite movies.
Oh, great. Did you see it in 3D? Because I didn't get to see it in 3D.
Yeah, I think I did. I can't remember. I did see it in theaters. Strangely enough, I really like that new version of Little Woman. I thought that was really well done.
Oh, my wife likes that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. As far as recommendations for like Christmas gifts, I don't know. That's been on. Yeah, I don't know. I've been rewatching Seinfeld. I've never seen Seinfeld before, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and so far I'm enjoying it.
That's a long thing to avoid.
Yeah.
How did you
Quite
do
a
that?
long history there.
I've seen it. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to sit there and see it, but I didn't connect with it. And much more as an adult, I connect more with what they're talking about, obviously.
Yeah, you just got to
I've never seen it either.
get past those first 2 seasons, and then it starts kicking in really good.
Yeah.
The first 2 seasons, you're like, what? How did it even make it? And then all of a sudden, it's like, this is wonderful.
Yeah, it kicks in. I still feel bad for the guy who plays Kramer. That guy killed his whole career in one movie.
What's his name? Yeah, that video is woo.
Yeah.
Michael Richardson.
Yeah.
And
I think he's funny. I like him, but man, it's like, yeah, after that stand-up skit, man, he was
Yeah. Oh, and
you guys see the Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh God, I love that show. That show's hilarious.
They're starting again. It's so
aren't they
great.
doing more of those?
Yeah, they just did a new one.
Mhm.
This season.
Well, I think he just does them whenever he feels like doing them. So it's not like it's any particular. Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, he does what he wants.
It keeps it fresh. Phil Leon chimed in from the chat. Hey, yo, Silverline Peeps.
Hello.
Hey, Phil, how's
Hello.
it going? Congratulations on our most recent Kickstarter. So definitely good. And then Phil, feel free to chime in any thoughts you have, recommendations, things that you like. So you kind of transitioned easily into TV shows, talking about Seinfeld. What are some shows that you guys are watching or that you like? Could be
one that just started up again that I thought was completely dead for some reason. The Expanse started up again.
Yes.
Did
you see last season?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But for some reason, I thought I forgot what the character's name was. The pilot guy when he. The actual.
I didn't see last season.
Yeah, you know what? I almost said something at the office the other day, and Barry's like, "Shut up!" because he hadn't watched the last season either.
Phil Leon says thanks. I don't know if that's for the congratulations or because we avoided spoilers, but we'll take it. Thank you, Phil. And Tommy, The Expanse.
No. I know it's based off of books, right? And
I think The Expanse is one of the best sci-fi shows they've done.
It is. It's kind of like even though it's nothing like Babylon 5, but you remember if Babylon 5 was actually, more realistic and cool. I mean, it's. I just like all the effects and stuff. I mean, the story's really cool. I like the characters. I like the actors that are doing all the stuff, all the nutty stuff, especially that first season with the protoplasm thingy with the thing. But man, and when they're trying to get space right when they're walking around in the ships and stuff, and they got the mag boots on, and it's as they're walking around on and stuff. I mean, it's just the whole thing about it is just so neat. My wife and I were watching it the first season yesterday or maybe Friday, and the one thing that I realized about the show that probably would just make me sick if this was in space. Those people are in these ships, right? And all of a sudden the ships, because when they take off, right, and they apply the thrust and they're getting all sucked back in the chairs. It's not like your Star Wars, Star Trek thing where they've got the fake gravity, and I mean they're getting all slammed into everything and stuff. But all of a sudden they'll show a ship and then they spin it around. So 1 minute they're in the ship and you see the fact that the gravity is affecting them, or the thrust is throwing them, but then they flip these ships around. I'd be throwing up all the time, I think. And it's like, I'm watching this stuff and I've already got a little bit of a head thing going on every now and again. I'm gonna see these ships spinning around. I'm like, going,
Throwing up in zero gravity would be even worse, right?
Oh, it'd be everywhere and all kind of stuff. But no, what's I don't know if y'all Pete's seen it, but when somebody gets killed or whatever, and they got the grab boots or the boots on, and all of a sudden they just die and they just they're in the air. Well, they don't fall to the ground because there's no ground. It's just so,
that's funny.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm sorry.
Amazon, right? Is that on Amazon? I think.
Yeah.
It was Sci-Fi, and then it moved to Amazon. I thought that it, like I said, I thought that it ended. I thought it was canceled, but there's another season. So yippee!
It's the last season, isn't it? It's the last one.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But another show, going back to Christmas stuff, another one we were talking about TV streaming stuff, and I need to go look it up. There's a thing called Claws. Have you seen that with a K? It's an animated.
Yeah, isn't it like Grant? Was that Grant Morrison had something to do with that? It was like a.
Yes, I'll look it up real quick. That show is just so cool. It's just a different tale of Santa Claus kind of thing, and y'all ought to watch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'll try to look it up here and tell y'all what it's on. I don't know what it's on. I'll find out. What it's on.
Nice.
But that's a good looking show. It makes me cry. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. Every time at the end of it, I go, "This is so good."
Nice. What? Anybody?
I like the Foundation season too. That was done pretty well.
Oh, is that already out?
Yeah,
that's Apple, isn't it? That's Apple TV.
I mean, they made it very simple, but it's nice.
Oh, good. Did you read the books as well?
Yeah, I read the book when I was really young.
So you feel like it's
and
a good
I read a few of the following ones, and then I got into other books. But it's a very complicated kind of political book, and they just took half of that out and focused on the people and the world that was created there. And I thought they did a good job of that.
Nice. Is the whole season, whole first season out, or are they doing like just little?
Yeah, one season's out, and I don't know what's next.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure they're going to continue it.
Nice.
But it's beautiful, though.
Claus is on Netflix. Just to let you know, Claus is on Netflix. If y'all want to check that out.
Okay.
Cool. I'm sorry, Bertie. You're adding a little bit to that.
I was just saying, visually is really well done.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. All the planets, all the tech. It just the lighting, the camera work. It's really nice looking.
Cool. Any other shows?
I don't know if people like Asimov, but
Yeah.
I've been watching with my friend that Wheel of Time. That's pretty cool.
I've started watching that.
I heard that was good.
Yeah, I like it. She read all the books, so she's helping me fill in the blank stuff.
It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's cool fantasy.
Yeah, there's like 15 books in it, so I guess
yeah,
the series. So it's long. And so far, I enjoy it. It seems like every fantasy show wants to be Game of Thrones, which this one is kind of trying to be, but it's not. And I kind of wish they would stop doing that. Like why every fantasy series, like we have to have boobs and we have to have tons of violence, and I'm like, you really don't. Game of Thrones is its own thing. Really you just so they're kind of toning that down a little bit in this series, which I enjoy. I did start watching Arcane, that one you talked about, Rowie, the Arcane series. I like that so far. I've heard, my friend said it was hand animated. It's done by a French company. The only thing, and this was my friend said, I guess this is character design. This is just like the thing that's getting like old. I think these should change. Is every woman has to have the shaved head and the pink hair with the mohawk. I'm like, you guys have got to.
They already have these characters.
They already have these characters, but like what was like He-Man, like the new He-Man show. Tila did it. I'm like, dude, okay, you guys have got to get a new haircut. The haircut's killing me. Other than that, I thought it was great. For some odd reason, I don't think the theme song and the intro fits the series. It's okay song.
They were just I don't know why Imagine Dragons had to be part of that. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
maybe
think
to
that song
make it
fits
fresh or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The show is
It
great, but
doesn't
every time
fit.
I hear the song, I'm like, that doesn't
It
really
doesn't
fit.
fit.
No, at all.
No.
So I'm like, okay. But yeah, so far I'm on episode five, I think. So yeah,
It's pretty addictive.
it is. And then
And
my friend,
interesting. I think there's a really amazing flip of like, trying to see every motivation, every character's deep enough.
yeah. So,
That
and I'm glad
I
you,
really love with the writing.
yeah, and it seems it's got a quick pace to it, so it doesn't get like bogged down with exposition. They do it's the first sometimes when they do CGI, because if you play video games, you can either sometimes end up feeling like, wow, I'm watching an extended cutscene. And
Mhm.
in a video game, this one has been able to defeat that. So I'm like, okay, that's good. Because there's
The
some shows
action
I'm
is
watching,
very good.
I'm like, okay, this is a cutscene. My friend showed me one of those what if from Marvel, and they're pretty good. But again, that
I
one
like 'em.
almost kind of felt a little bit like a video game cutscene. Like I'm like grabbing my controller, when am I gonna play? And but it's a minor quibble, and that just has to go with the fact that they're both computer generated. So I mean,
Well, the color design on that What If show is gorgeous. I mean, really
Yeah.
Yeah,
great
it's
color choices.
very nice.
Phil Leon chimed in and said Raised by Wolves is a good sci-fi series, and
I watched the
think that
first
too.
episode of that, and I never went back and watched the rest. I need to. It's not because I didn't like it. I'm horrible at like watching something, then I get sidetracked with something else, and then I forget I was doing that. I always do that.
Yeah, for me, two series that I've really enjoyed recently was I never got around to watching The Wire, but the whole thing's on HBO Max. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that is it's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I
series.
remember people
That was
loving
really
that
good.
show.
Yeah, and it's a slow burn. I mean, you have to watch like the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then all of a sudden they juggle so many characters and scenarios. But it's writing is phenomenal, and the acting's amazing. And it's kind of the first show that I think Idris Elba really kind of made a big impact over here stateside on. But it's great. And it's essentially about Baltimore and the corruption and crime in Baltimore. But you see it at every level. You see it from the drug dealers to the police to the politicians to the journalists, and I can't recommend it highly enough. But good show. And I think the other one is Apple TV. We should have been sponsored tonight, but Ted Lasso. I don't know if you guys have watched
Ted Lasso is excellent.
Oh, the most likable characters I've ever seen on TV. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, Ted Lasso's awesome. Yeah. Any other shows anybody would recommend or favorites of all time?
Well, Mandalorian is pretty good.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. That's good.
Mhm.
That's good. Definitely.
I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with the Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So what's it called? The Book of Fett or
Mhm.
whatever it's called.
Mm.
Yeah, the Book of
Can't wait
Boba
to see
Fett.
what
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to switch it up and ask you guys a really fun one, which is as far as movies and TV, guilty pleasures, like ones that, and we're on the air, so you have to admit it, but you normally wouldn't admit, but it's bad, but you like it.
all the stupid Hallmark Channel shows. I make fun of it all the time, but I'll never admit. Don't tell my wife; she's in the other room now. When she's watching them and stuff, I enjoy watching them. All the different ones, they're fun to watch. I mean, it's the same story with different people in every time, but I enjoy watching them. They're fun.
Nice.
I then pretend like I never said that.
Wipe it from the record.
Yeah.
For me, it's the Problem Child trilogy. That's probably my super guilty pleasure. It's just the movie that really has absolutely no benefit to society and is horrible, but I absolutely love the Problem Child movies. So that would be my
Problem Child. What is it? I don't.
John Ritter back in the day, and it was like he adopted this kid from an orphanage, and it's this really evil ginger kid that his name's Junior, and he's
Ginger Kid. That's probably what's wrong.
Yeah, and he's just an absolute terror, and as they say, hijinks ensue. But it's really bad. really bad.
When you said that, I thought you were talking about the Home Alone movies or something. It's like Problem Child.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know why they brought that up.
It's like if Home Alone was there, but the kid is the villain.
Yeah.
That's what Problem Child is.
I don't know if I have any guilty pleasures because I just usually like what I like.
And that's what Aaron, I was going to say. That it seemed you seem the kind of guy that if you're going to watch it, then you probably liked it. So
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
I just turned it off, and
I don't really go by like consensus or internet consensus. What I think is good about it, watch whatever I want.
Sure.
I'm like a big fan of Sex in the City. I know that.
Oh,
Did you
but
watch that
that's
recent
a
one
good
with the
show.
Peloton bike? Well, that's
Which
all I've
one?
been reading about the last couple of days. Is that
Yeah, the
new Sex and the
Peloton,
City.
Peloton stocks crashed today because of that show.
It did.
Have Sex in the City?
Yeah.
Well, it's a sequel series. My wife hated it. Her and her friends were watching it, and they just couldn't stand
Oh
it.
wait, I heard that they were doing one with like the kids, the daughters, right? Or they're supposed to be a younger generation or something.
So and my wife really hated it. So Peter, you're saying the stocks kind of plummeted.
Apparently those Peloton stocks dropped by like 14 or 15% today.
Ooh.
And the only reason that would be is because of the show. And that just shows how stupid stock market is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's gambling?
because they're redoing or are putting out a new episode plus this new thing that they're working on. Is that what you mean? Or I missed why you said that.
I think there's a new episode of Sex and the City.
Yeah, it's like all new characters. I think though. I don't know if
Well,
it's.
I think it's leading to new characters. Is what it is. Yeah.
It's called and something happened or something like that. I forget what it. My wife was just watching, and her and her friends who were big fans of the shows. They said it's a horrible show. At least the first episodes that were released.
I'd be curious to check it out just to see. I didn't like the movies. I thought the TV series when it ended, I thought just ended perfectly, and I didn't like the movies because then they just took what would happen in the TV series and undid everything. And I'm like, well, then that's pointless.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't, because I thought they had good character arcs in the series, and then they go into the movie and then they just undo it all. Samantha breaks up with the boyfriend. I'm like, well, that's kind of pointless. That they completely undid her character. And then, what was it? Carrie didn't have to get married to Big, but of course, they try to get married, then that all goes to crap. And I'm just okay. You guys are ruining everything you just set up and did so well. Stop it. So typical.
I'm sorry, I've never seen an episode. I've never seen an episode.
Yeah.
I know the characters, and I know Kim Cattrall isn't in the films, or isn't it?
She is.
Isn't in the new series though? Is it?
She got tired of it. And I can understand. I mean, I heard there were rumors, these are rumors, that she got so popular that Carrie was really the main character, and that's Sarah Jessica Parker. So
yeah,
I heard there were hurt feelings, but then I've heard that was all falsehood and stuff. So yeah. So I guess that might be a guilty. I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure. It's a popular show. So again, I don't know. I never understood the guilty pleasure. Like, does a show have to be universally hated by everyone that you?
Yeah,
like,
what makes it a guilty
I think so.
pleasure?
I think guilty pleasure is like junk food. Like it's not good for you health wise, but you really like it. It's
I like a lot of the Happy Gilmore, the Adam Sandler films. I like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know he gets back, but I think they're really funny.
Oh God.
The newer ones he's done is not as funny, but his older ones when he was like in Vogue I think are pretty good. Yeah,
he's done some ones on. He's done quite a few on Netflix.
Yeah,
but he's done one with Jennifer Aniston, and they're like a couple abroad. It's like a murder mystery, and it's really, really good.
Really,
really funny.
Which one is it?
I think it might be called Murder Mystery or something like that.
Nice.
I think now that you said it, I've seen it.
I really
guess
enjoyed it.
I like the Resident Evil films, but I mean that's got Mila Jovovich, so that's an easy win for me.
Sure.
But the games are just as bad. That's why I saw the new Resident Evil film, which everyone hated. They said it was hilarious to me. The acting's bad and the writing's bad. I'm like, have you played the video games?
Yeah.
This is the point. It's supposed to be bad. I mean, it's supposed to be B movie at best. So they go in and like, why didn't see Academy Award performances? I'm like, of course. It's Resident Evil, you dork.
Exactly. It's like telling McDonald's you're going to take away their Michelin star. It's like it's not.
Yeah. It's like I was just like, I don't know. I gamers are some of the most pickiest people.
They are.
But still, I was like, dude, it's Resident Evil. How many zombie movies are there? But that, I guess maybe that's a guilty pleasure. So it's just so universally hated. Apparently, I guess I don't really pay attention to much. I check out the reviews after I've seen the movie just to see if people like them. Usually, most people hate the stuff I like. I told you my friend Juan actually recommends movies to me that he hates because we have such opposite tastes.
You know that it's good then.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Did
like,
you
I hate
guys
this
like
movie.
that Ash versus Evil Dead?
I tried to watch it and I couldn't.
Did you like
get
it?
past the first couple episodes, you know. But
Did you ever
Oh,
see the old movies? Were you a fan of the older movies?
Because I love the older movies.
oh, I
Yeah.
love the movies.
I know you did too.
Real quick,
It's
Jose Fuentes says,
So
hey,
dumb, but so fun.
oh yeah, totally. They're phenomenal. Bruce Campbell, I swear. Jose Fuentes says, hey all, hey Jose,
What's
up?
what is up? Good to see you. Yeah, no, I love those old movies. They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually like the series.
I've got one for you. So let this spill over a little, just a side note, into what guilty pleasure stuff or rabbit hole kind of stuff like on YouTube. Do you have you jump on YouTube? We tend to watch just as much YouTube as regular TV now. You know, and so is there specific anything on YouTube when you jump over there? I'm going to just watch a few, and it turns into a few minutes, and then turns an hour, and you're just watching a whole bunch of silly. Is there any particular genre of YouTube things that you just watch that are guilty pleasures? I'll tell you mine. Lately, it's been watching people solve Rubik's cubes. For
What?
some,
Oh, no.
yeah, I don't know. I have no. I had. I ordered for myself for Renee to put in my stocking a speed cube. You know what a speed cube is? It's those Rubik's cubes. You see those guys going.
Yeah.
I used to be able to solve a Rubik's cube when I was younger, and I'm like, that you can solve. These guys claim that you can solve a Rubik's cube in like 27 moves, and I'm like, I'm gonna get one so I can figure out how to do that.
So the specific Rubik's cube, just that you can do it faster. Is that the idea, or is it just
a speed cube? Yeah, it's just made to where it turns a lot. Yeah, they do it in speed, but just the fact that you can actually solve one in 30 moves, it's like, what? I remember it would take me an hour when I knew how to do it, and it's like, I want to try. So, y'all have anything that you can jump on YouTube and you just go, okay, while nobody's looking, I'm going to look at people making crock pot recipes or something like that.
I got a stupid one for you that I could say.
All right.
I like this Sphinx cat called the Dark Lord.
What is that? A Sphinx
It's
cat?
a Sphinx cat. It's just one of those like hairless cats.
Uh-huh.
He's got a bad attitude, and he's got a YouTube following, and it is
Oh,
hilarious.
that is so cool. That's so cool.
It is a guilty pleasure. I love that stupid cat.
And
So he puts out his own videos, huh?
Yeah, it's just lots of videos.
Are they staged or is it just like him do?
The owner just makes stuff up, and makes up words
is
for
making his
him.
own. No, the cat's doing it. He's got his own production crew, and he's coming up with his own stories.
Yeah.
It's not somebody doing it; he's doing it. Come on now.
A lot of attitude.
Yeah.
He's got a creepy look. The bit is that he runs their life, and everyone does their bidding of what his will is, and he attacks with viciousness anyone that dares threaten his superiority.
That's cool.
But he's a great cat. It's really funny. It's just really, really silly, but really funny.
What's the name again?
The Dark Lord.
Dark Lord. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, they do so many things to that cat. It's just great.
I'm trying to think of any guilty pleasure. I know that human behavior fascinates me to no end. And so I'll find myself late at night watching dating advice videos just because listening and then reading the comments. It's like watching the blind leading the blind sometimes. I've seen people come to realizations on the video where I'm just like, yes, this is well known. I guess this stuff that I'm not like saying like I'm super smart, but the stuff I just take as common sense. And I guess I've learned as I've grown up, like what I consider common sense is not common sense to some other people, which surprises me sometimes. And so,
are you learning any cool pickup lines and that kind of stuff, or things to do and not do?
No,
I'm married.
I learned all stuff. not to do whatever. But my second degree was in digital technology and culture. It was only a year, but in that degree, I studied the internet, like social interactions with the internet. And ever since then, I've been absolutely fascinated how the internet and social media and all that stuff interacts or changes people. And one of the most fascinating things to study is how dating sites have changed human behavior, and it's changed it incredibly. It's bizarre, and
In
you
a
see
good way
just
or a bad way? Shane?
and a kind of in a bad way.
Yeah, that was it.
It's given. I mean, it's just the problem of choice, which has been something that's been exasperated exponentially by the internet for various things, but especially with that. You just see, I mean, why settle on one thing when you have 1,000 options at your fingertips? And so you see that not just in dating and buying stuff and media. I mean, it's I just even watching people argue on the internet, people like, yeah, I'm upset today, tomorrow to be something new because there's so many things hitting your brain or whatever. There was if you want to watch a kind of an interesting documentary that's on HBO Max, it's called Fake Famous. It was kind of a funny thing, and what this guy did was they took all of these people interviewed that wanted to be famous online, like an influencer. And I guess they actually wanted to be an influencer. He chose one girl and two guys. And the idea in the show was they were going to fake online that they're famous. Apparently you can buy likes and buy profiles. Like he bought like a few thousand and was talking about how like Kim Kardashian, like half of her followers are like fake. They're just computer algorithms, not real people. And so the idea is like he's going to put these people online. They take a bunch of photos of them. They fake the photos. They fake the likes. They fake all these, and then just let the internet run. And these people started becoming famous. And it's like, and then they also document how it affected them because it started affecting their lives too, and stuff. And it was really fascinating. I'm always fascinated by people. It's called, I think it's called Fake Famous, something like that. Fascinating documentary. There's a ton of those social documentaries. That's probably my guilty pleasure. If there's a social documentary on a social issue, I'll watch it. But that was one.
I think for us, one of the things that we have playing a lot, and my wife likes playing this. I've seen these ambient videos on YouTube where basically like you have a big screen TV. It started out with like the Christmas fire log, right?
Yeah.
But then they started. It's almost like an art form now. Then people started doing like, okay, here's a coffee shop. So they have like some motion graphics of a coffee shop and the rain hitting and the sound effects looping for like 5 hours, and then people just started going further and further to it, where it's like Lord of the Rings, the elven, fortress of Lothlorien, and they have like, the leaves, and so it's just kind of like this thing to put on in the background. So that's probably one of the things that always is getting play here at our house.
I could watch aquariums forever.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I probably watch way too many mountain bike video web or YouTube channels, and it's just about all the decent theme park stuff. Watch way too much of that stuff.
Yeah, the theme park ones are great. Like they even have like rides where somebody just films the ride and then posts it. So
Yep.
Here's what ticked me off, right? And this is the internet in a nutshell. So out here in California, we have like I haven't been there, but Disneyland has the Avengers Campus, right? Which is like
Which really I just learned about that.
Yeah, which
I didn't.
I'd love to see, but this guy was doing, and in Florida they have the Islands of Adventure, right? And they have a Marvel Land there.
Yeah.
And so this guy was doing a comparative review of both places. So he's going, okay, well, Islands of Adventure has this, Avengers Campus has that. I don't think Avengers Campus is as good in this way because, what I see at Universal is better, and this, and then halfway through the video he goes, yeah, I haven't, and this is all determined from the footage I've seen of other people going there.
Yeah, so he's not actually gone himself.
There, and I was like, dude, you wasted like 15 minutes, and you're casting judgment on this based on other YouTube videos. Like, that's not the snake eating its own tail. I don't know what it is. So that's ridiculous.
And that's kind of what Aaron was talking about, all the changes. And,
right?
Society, people feel like they know something about someone because they see their internet presence and this ownership of knowledge of what they think they know about. It's interesting.
There is what was it? I had a friend the other day talk about some guys trying to start something called "Cats Aren't Real." Apparently, this is a thing.
What?
And what he's trying to do is like he's trying to affect, because you know how like the fact that people believe the Earth is flat, and by all means, you guys out there that believe that
I've watched so many of those videos.
the Earth
That
is
is
flat,
so-
obviously.
That is so neat. Anyway, I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Well, no. But I mean, but the thing is, the fact like people like ask like, well, why do people think the Earth is flat? I'm like, because you're dealing with the greatest propaganda tool ever invented, the internet. And so he was like, well, could I do the same thing by getting people to believe cats aren't real?
Oh,
And I don't know if he's documenting this somewhere, but he'll go to events and say like cats aren't real, and they're like, yeah, they are. And he's like, but he'll start like he really believes it, because if you start believe it enough, people sometimes will start to be like, well, maybe
you'll find some people that'll go along with. They'll go.
maybe
Yeah.
cats aren't real. They'll think you know something they don't. It's like the old thing. If you go out into like a city street and you sit and look in the sky, within a minute, you start having people looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
They're thinking, what are you looking at? The same.
It must be something.
Yeah, same concept. Well, they did. You guys have heard about that famous psychology experiment with the electroshock that was faked. Have you guys ever heard about this?
What's that about?
Okay, so there's a movie on this. About the guy who did this, and I think I can't remember the name of the movie. I'll look it up. So basically what it was is they came into this room. The people in the experiment are all in on it. The only one who's not in on it is this gentleman who's going to administer these electric shocks. And so what they go in and do is they go in and they ask you certain questions. It's like, okay, you ask this questions to this guy on the other side of this wall, this other room. He can't see the guys giving the shocks to. Every time he gets an answer wrong, you shock him and you turn the volt up.
Oh yeah.
And but eventually gets to the point where it could kill him.
Yeah.
And so what they're testing is the threshold. What he was actually studying was like how like a lot of like the Nazis and military people are able to do like turn the other way. Yeah. Even though, and that's what he was studying. But a lot of people, when they eventually turned it up, he would afterwards say, like, well, you could have killed this guy. Why'd you do it? And he's like, well, because I was told to.
Wow.
Like because you were told to, it completely overrode your just reasoning to be like, no, I'm not going to do this. Some people did, but some people would just be like, yeah, you could have killed this guy. And it's like, yeah, but it wouldn't have been on me. It would have been on the guy who told me to, even though I'm the one hitting the button.
Wow.
Very, very fast. That stuff. And he's the same guy who did the experiment. I'd have to look up this movie. The movie, they actually did, what was it? I have to look it up. You guys can talk, and I'll give you the name. I think it's on HBO, but it might be on something else.
While you're doing that, I don't know if anybody else wants to switch out as far as doing the art. I don't know if Roberta, if you're working on.
I don't have anything up right now.
Okay,
sorry.
No, that's right. Tommy, you can keep. We'll have Tommy.
I've been looking, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to show that. Not yet.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
I could if you want to, though. If
something comes up, feel free to.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep going until somebody kicks me out.
Boots him out.
I happen to like watching the inking.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Aaron, you're talking about that. I saw like this one prank where they did like, people want fame, and it was like,
yeah,
they were doing a new reality show, and it was basically that show Survivor. But so a lot of people are in the casting, and then they get to the point where they go, okay, now here's what sets our thing aside. And our show's called Cannibal, and they bring out a Tupperware full of meat, right? It's like beef or something.
Yeah.
They're like, we need to know that you're willing to eat human flesh, and they start passing it around. Like some people are like, oh yeah, well, I mean, you give me on the show, right? Like, oh, it tastes like chicken, So it's like, wow, that's pretty disturbing,
I was always amazed what they were eating on that Fear Factor.
Yeah.
It's pretty awful.
And I remember if you ever watch Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan actually tells the story of how they got canceled. And I'm not going to repeat it on here because it's not right for this type of show. But if you can, okay. I think the name of the show it's called The Experimenter is the name of the show. And it's about Stanley Milgram. He was a psychologist. And he did they talk about other things that he did too. But I remember that was one of his most famous ones.
Wow.
So... But yeah, he did something called The Lost Letter too. But he would just test people's behavior by putting them in weird predicaments. That stuff fascinates me to no end. People are weird, man. What can I say? They are.
People weird.
Well, the internet, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of starting to wind down to the last leg of things. But as we kind of go about talking about other recommendations and things, I'd be curious to hear about people's music, like what, and everybody here is an artist. And so, what music inspires you? Do you have specific type of music or things you listen to while you're working, or feel free to chime in.
I don't listen to music.
Yeah, music.
Yeah, what
So
music?
2020.
I used to listen to music, but I feel like I'm at such a loss for time.
Mhm.
I've been listening, to either, shows like the Silverline I missed on Wednesday, or, a podcast or a YouTube show or whatever. That's what I've been doing.
Okay.
So I miss music, but I tended to listen to it too much.
Yeah.
I used to listen to music, but then I would always get to the point where it would start repeating the album or whatever, so I quit. I listen to, I don't know, all sorts. I think I've been documented over here that, I like a lot of European metal. I like a band called Love Bites and Nightwish, but then I listen to Steve Croce, and so stuff like that. So, which is an old '70s singer. Time in a Bottle.
Yeah. You mean Jim
Croce,
Croce, right?
Jim
Yeah.
Croce, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I've
What
been,
a songwriter.
I've been trying to listen to like Christmassy music because it's getting to that time, right?
Oh,
I've realised there's like 5 good Christmas songs.
And they're all sung by Mariah Carey, right?
That's right.
You put it on Spotify, top like 100 Christmas songs, and literally I'm just like skip. This is rubbish.
Yeah.
Skip. Justin Bieber, skip. There's 5 good songs.
it's
You
funny, but
badmouthing
because
the Beaver?
that show is back on, I've been getting back into the Beatles, so I have had like several days where like that's what all I'm playing while I'm doing artwork.
Nice.
It's just old Beatles tunes, and
Yeah.
it's very nostalgic because I guess I had a
Christmas.
long gap of not listening.
Sure. And Jose Fuentes, one of our people, he chimed in and said, "Funny enough, if I'm drawing or inking fight scenes, I tend to do it while listening to Rage Against the Machine." Yeah.
I just don't see Jose being a very ragey man, but maybe he is. Maybe when he turns the camera off, he's like, if I ever see Aaron, kill that punk. I don't know.
You guys ever see
Yeah,
when
but
Bernie writes
it's
some-
rock and music, whether or not you
Yeah.
takes you to a rage. Probably doesn't.
You guys ever see when Bernie Wrightson was asked about what horror means to him, and he gave like the most intense, creepiest answer I've ever heard?
No, what was it?
He goes, how can I explain this? He goes, horror to me is that there's a man wearing an all-white suit, perfectly dressed, that walks onto a bus, but there's a spot of blood on his tie, and nobody can explain where it came from.
I like that.
It's like, wow,
Chilling.
that's intense.
Everybody's getting a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I've told y'all before. I mean, I don't listen to much of anything. I end up watching TV when I'm doing all my artwork and stuff. But what the music that I do listen to lately is a guy, and I think I've told y'all. His name is Leo. Oh, I have no idea. Moracchioli. He's got a studio called Frog Leap Studio, and he does like heavy metal, grungy kind of versions of just all kinds of stuff of other people's music and stuff. Just go on YouTube and look him up, Leo or something or another. Frog Leap Studio, and just all this different songs. So he'll take like just any song. I mean, he goes on to take kid songs, he takes opera songs, he takes other heavy metal songs and redoes them. He's really, really cool. I like that guy. But then I'm also a big rap person, so I love most rap stuff, so like the Beastie Boys and all that kind of old schooly kind of rap stuff. But Frog Leap Studio, go check him out. He's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I like you guys. I usually end up watching stuff, or like half watching, as we do when I'm doing art. I tend to listen to music more when I'm driving, but also like when I'm when I'm working out or training martial arts, and I definitely feel like the music helps. Depending, like if I'm kind of slowing down too much, I got to put something that's more up tempo and stuff like that. But
Yeah, when I'm biking, I'll put some of this guy's stuff on, just because it keeps your heart pumping, and when you get a little tired, you're grinding, and so he makes you get over that next hill, or try to do that next little jump or something like that. It's just so yeah, I know what you're saying. But yeah, doing the artwork and stuff, I'm usually at home watching TV with Renee. So
yeah, it's like I love hip hop, but I'm and I'll listen to it. I'm driving, but I'm not the guy that'll like roll down the window and bump it really loud. But I have been caught in LA traffic where, of course, there's some guy who wants to share his music with everybody else, and so I have a couple polka songs on my playlist that I just turn on the polka music and roll down the window, bump it really loud, and kind of mean mug the guy, and that always goes over well. So,
That's funny.
yeah. But so I mean, obviously, all the Silverlines podcasts and shows, but do you guys have any podcasts or kind of things that you guys listen to while you're working, or that you enjoy that aren't within the Silverline family?
that's a good one. That's a good one. I've got go for it. I'm gonna pull mine up and tell you the ones I listen to.
I'll tell you what I listen to when I'm penciling or inking. Everything else has to be silent, otherwise. So there's a company called Big Finish. I don't know if you've heard of it. And they do Doctor Who audio. I guess audio plays,
Oh, cool.
but with the actual cast.
Nice.
So if they've been in the Doctor Who show, they continue being Doctor Who on the audio, and they've been going for donkey's years. So I literally will put those on, and they're so well made, so professional.
Wow.
They're not cheap, but it's just another addiction I have. But they are really, really good. So David Tennant's back as Doctor Who, and
that's cool.
All the ones that are still left alive, they reprise there. So you got all the Doctors, everyone doing it, everyone coming back. So check it out. If you've got Big Finish, you can just download them.
Is it specifically Doctor Who that they do, or do they do other?
They do. Well, they're primarily known for Doctor Who. That's the bulk of what they do. But they do. They have other licenses to other shows. They're basically it's British shows, English shows.
Okay.
They're English based. It's got to be sci-fi. They don't do anything. They do a bit of Sherlock Holmes.
Cool.
But no, it's basically sci-fi.
That's cool.
So stuff. I don't know if you ever had it over there. Space 1999.
Yeah.
And Blake 7. Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
Right, so they have licenses of those as well. I don't listen to those ones, but I listen to Space 1999, but because I didn't know, I don't know them. I never watched them as a kid. Like they were gone before I was born. So, but Doctor Who's been around.
That's great. That's great that those actors kind of have a second life doing those same characters.
Yeah, they keep doing it. Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, that's like when Adam West did those 2 animated Batman movies. I thought that was genius.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah, I remember doing those. I don't listen. But I listen to sitcoms a lot, like Seinfeld or something. I play video games a lot when I draw. I know that's weird.
Wait, what? You somebody playing video games, right?
You just pause it a lot.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Drive me mad.
Wow.
Yeah, I just pause it because my hand hurts a lot sometimes. So I take a break, and also I found that playing video games helps my drawing because it breaks my concentration from the drawing. So when I look down back at it, I can see it new, and I see what I've gone wrong and stuff.
I can see that.
Yeah, I go.
Cool.
Yeah, but I'll just sit there with and cutscenes are boring. So every time there's a cutscene in the game, I just sit there and draw and stuff. So yeah, I've gotten like an entire page done tonight because of certain video games with cutscenes. You know who you are. And yeah. But no, I just play single player, and then when I get bored of the game or find a place, I stop and draw for a few minutes and play a game, then stop and draw and just go back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm not actually playing and drawing.
Yeah, that's what I was.
People think
I was trying to figure out. Are you using your feet? Like, how are you?
No. I just go back and forth between it.
You lose a lot, is what you're trying to say in your game. You're trying to play and draw at the same time.
Well, most of my main diet of gaming are Dark Souls type games, so yeah, I do lose a lot.
Nice. Any other podcasts that anybody listens to or could recommend?
I listen to. Okay, I've got a bunch of podcasts that I like to. I listen to one, and a lot of them are comic book and or some of them are comic book and theme park related. So I listen to Tell 'em Steve, Dave. I don't know if you guys have heard that one before.
I've always heard of that one, but I haven't listened to it. That's
Yeah,
on
it's
podcast,
got the
right?
it's got the comic book men people, the guys on it, and some of the other folks. And I listened to one called Penn and Teller, right? So Penn's got one called Penn Sunday School, which they talk about magic stuff every now and again, but it's pretty fun. Then I believe it or not, I listened to a bunch of off and on a bunch of cryptic kind of here's one called Squatch
backgrounds.
Chronicles that I listened to, and then what's this other one? Bigfoot and Beyond. That's a really cool one. I listened to a couple of mountain bike ones that are kind of cool. And I listened to these, but the big one that I got to listen to just every week. They put out a couple a week is called the Disney Dish, which those guys do a lot of behind the scenes of what's going on at Disney and Disney stories and all that. I'm a big Disney fan. Did I tell y'all that? Did y'all know that I like Disney?
We got a little bit.
You heard of it a little bit? Yeah. But that's just some of the ones. Oh, and then a really cool one is a Star Trek one called The Next Conversation. Star Trek: The Next Conversation. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, for me, I watch. Podcasts. Like some of it isn't podcasts; it's on YouTube. But there's a show called Midnight's Edge. There's a channel I absolutely love. Midnight's Edge. They have fascinating scoops and kind of behind the scenes information about stuff going on, and really, really, really good channel. In particular, there's this guy named Cameron Pasha who is a writer in Hollywood, and he gives a lot of interesting insight about stuff. So I like that. And then I like the Sopranos TV show. So the two of the stars have an actual podcast where they interview other stars from the show and kind of review each episode, kind of go over it. And that's called.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that one's really funny. Talking Sopranos is really good. So yeah, those are probably like two of my major ones.
Hello. Sorry about that. I had a phone call from my mom, and you never know if these things are.
Gotta take it.
It can go either way. Yeah. It could go like, I need help, or it could.
Yeah.
It was a nice recommendation.
So for you, is there any do you listen to any podcasts or anything, or like kind of talk show related? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You were saying you were listening to a lot of the Silverline stuff,
Yeah, I do. And,
yeah, but that's crap.
Brutal, but too.
I do listen to a lot of other artists also, and as opposed, if I do listen to podcasts, it's more from my my job oriented, kind of auto oriented podcasts. So I have things like that.
Okay.
But I tend to listen more to like videos like on YouTube, from people I follow, artists I follow that have really fun live talks, and so I enjoy that. There's several that I listen to regularly, and I think they're really helpful. One is Art Turkel, and he's really great if you haven't heard of him.
How do you spell T-U-R Turkel?
Turkel.
Art Turkel. So is it just about art, like in general, or?
He talks that he's an artist. He's a working artist.
Okay.
And he's
it's in the name, Art Turkel. Seriously, Curtis.
Yeah,
it kind of is.
On Turkel.
Yeah, but I highly recommend listening to him. He's extremely professional, yet can keep his life balance, which is amazing.
That's a big challenge.
Is able to have his sense of humor. He's able to have, I think just the fact that he can do all of the sharing that he does is it's really helpful to people, just to have a good time while drawing. So
that's great.
He talks about the art he does, and yet makes a party out of it. So it's nice.
That's awesome. And it's so fun. I found like after, this, at least for me, like this was COVID was us coming together, or at least me kind of coming more into it. And I think it's just as horrible as the whole COVID situation has been, it's been such a phenomenal opportunity to get insights into your favorite artists, your favorite creators, people that normally you wouldn't have access to, like I was one of my favorite rap producers. His name is Just Blaze. He was doing like live DJ sessions, and I noticed in his background he had the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe symbol on his wall. I was just typing to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I love that stuff." And he pulls down his arm. He has a huge tattoo of it, and it's like, when would I ever have?
And you didn't know?
Yeah, so that I love that. Phil Leon chimes in and says, "Welcome to Night Vale is a really cool podcast." Has anybody heard of that?
I have heard of that. I've not seen it, but I've had people recommend
Yeah,
that.
I haven't heard
Do
it.
you guys
But
know what it's about?
I think it's like an ongoing storyline, if I'm not mistaken. I'd ask Phil. I think it's supposed to be like one of those old time news like radio shows. I think that's what it's supposed to be, but it takes place in like a town with very obscure supernatural things going on. I think that's what
that
it
sounds
is.
awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Jose Fuentes says, "This one's for you, Aaron." He says, "I don't know what you're talking about, Aaron. We were amazing last Tuesday."
I thought our first date went well, Jose. It did.
but I think he's with us, so it's time for you guys to see other people. So just
It is.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, dude. I'm not monogamous. I swing all over the place.
And I hope everything went well, Jose. I'm assuming it went well. We won't go into detail.
Yeah, I
I
hope
you're doing
so.
good. It sounds like you're doing good. So, and Jose says LOL. So yes, exactly. So, and Rob Liefeld's podcast is fascinating.
Oh,
I need to listen to that. He sometimes is a little too much for me to.
Oh, he's on
He just
caffeine. He's
talk.
caffeinated.
Yeah, it's just like, dude. It's like even I'm just like starting just drawing, and I start like just tearing through that paper. Like, damn it, Rob. And I listen to Comics by Perch, which is a different. He's a little different. So he is a guy from Seattle. I think he's moving to Texas. What would possess him to move to Texas? I don't know. Sorry, Quentin. And but he runs 2 comic shops up there, I think he said. And so he talks a lot about comic books from the retailer side.
That's cool.
Which is something that I'm really fascinated about, because that's why I want to bring my stuff to. The publishers and stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I want to hear, because nobody really talks to retailers that much. So he talks about comics. He gets a little bit into the whole, online debates with the comics. I'm like, okay, whatever. But he does do some interesting stuff on there. But he goes on like 10-minute snippets. So his videos like 10 minutes or 14 minutes. So not like a podcast that go hours at a time. I don't listen to many of those. I usually listen to things that are like on a subject, and then, but yeah, it's something that's distilled like into a few minutes. But yeah, that's the only comic book one. I'm trying to think if I listen to any artist podcasts. I don't really. I listen to these guys called the Kayfabe, I think, which are pretty popular.
What's that about?
They what are they called? Look it up here. It's like artists. I think it's called Artist Kayfabe. And it's just about these 2 guys. They're comic artists. One of them puts out Kayfabe cartoonist.
Oh, I follow them.
Yeah, and they'll just look at like comic books. Like they'll just look at comic books and flip through like old issues of like Frank Miller and then give their opinions. So they do like almost commentary on comic books, which sometimes is kind of fascinating. I don't always agree with what they say, but it's fascinating. The one thing that is cool is they do interviews are pretty popular. Like they did one with Mike Mignola. They did one with Jeff Darrow. These are like interviews they do with them. So those are worth it to listen to the interview. I actually don't really care about if he does a comic. One of the guys does a comic called Red Room, which is his horror comic, like underground horror comic. And I think the other gentleman does one called Street Angel. The Red Room's not up my speed. It's basically he says, I think the name, what was the comic was like Murder on the Dark Web for Fun and Profit. So it's like gory and all that. It's just not my speed. He's a good artist. It's just not my shtick. But yeah, they're pretty popular. I mean, if you go on the YouTube, you can find a ton of their stuff.
Have you guys
Yeah.
seen Comic Tropes? Have you seen that YouTube
Yeah,
channel? That
he doesn't put
nice
out as
stuff.
much as I'd like. Every once in a while, he just had a new one out, and I like him a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He has some really good stuff. There's another guy named there's a station, there's a channel called Accented Cinema. That one's really good too. That's more movies and more like kind of Asian cinema, but the guy's very insightful, you know. So that's that. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
So, and this may not apply to everybody, but it's within the wheelhouse of you know, comic books to some degree. So let's kind of, as we wind down, let's talk about video games. Any video games that anybody recommends or likes, or you know?
I don't play them
Yeah, no.
them video game
Video
things,
games.
them moving game things.
Yeah,
That's
it's
up
the
there with
double
that
work.
book learning
I'm
stuff.
still trying to get Steam to work properly. So
Oh yeah.
I never got on the Steam. I've always been a console gamer. I don't mind. That PC was just too much. I'm like turn it on and go.
Yeah.
But my friends swear by Steam. They love it. I eventually one day I'll go
well, I'm
into it.
stuck with my PS3 because you know there's games on it that the 7-year-old's addicted to. So
I
Nothing
finally
like that.
scored a PlayStation 5, so I
You did?
was happy about that was a
Nice.
few
Very
weeks
nice.
ago. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm playing the Final Fantasy 7. That's what I'm playing.
Oh,
remake?
that'd be nice.
There
Yeah,
you go.
which
Yeah.
it was funny because you can buy the PlayStation 5 one for 44. It comes with like a 4-hour extension, or you could just buy the PlayStation 4 for 24 and upgrade it to PlayStation 5.
Smart, yeah.
At the
smart.
price,
Oh,
I'm like, I'll
interesting.
just do that. There's
Yeah.
no reason. Yeah. I played a game called Scarlet Nexus for a while. Oh my god, that game can talk. It's one of those role playing games where like you have to you're with these crew, you're like these psychic kids. It's all anime based, and you give presents to the kids, and you have these bonding moments, and they just talk about just nothing in general. But it could be up to an hour before I actually play the game.
Oh, I hate
It's
that.
just ridiculous. So
You play
that's
the
why I was
game.
doing most of my drawing.
That's frustrating.
I hate that. I hate that.
I mean, I like
Yeah.
that there's some cinema quality to the writing, but I mean, there's got to be a balance where you're
Mhm.
Oh
playing
yeah.
more of it than watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't have. They said like, "Well, do you have to do the bonding?" Like, well, if you want to win the game, yeah. And I'm like, oh god. The one was like, "What? I'm gonna try to find this flower for my friend." And so there's like 30, how many minutes of them talking about finding the flower. I'm like, I don't care. I don't make it stop. And the game itself is pretty fun, but I actually quit the game. I usually never quit games. If I go into a game with benefit, I'm gonna finish it, right?
Yeah.
But man, they kept going on and on. I literally was like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. I shut it off and erased the game. I just couldn't take it.
That's when somebody didn't do their job right.
Yeah. Well, they're not even cut scenes. The whole game's 3D for PlayStation 5, and do the talking scenes. They cut to static comic book scenes, which should be good, but it's just talking heads. And I'm like, oh, you guys are killing me here.
Wow.
Yeah. Art direction was great. It looked pretty. I mean, if you look it up, it looks cool. You know, the gameplay itself was fun when you actually got to play it. But yeah, oh my god, yeah. Usually I don't, but that one. There was one other role-playing game with this character's voice that annoyed me, and I almost finished that game, and then I literally chucked that disc. I'm like, I can't take it. It's killing me. Use this little squeaky voice. I'm like, sorry. I'll never know what happens at the end. Maybe I've read it up and like, does this character die? No, and I'm like, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, I've been playing this game called Dead by Daylight. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't played it yet.
It is so good. I mean, it's one of the things where if you play with your friends, I play it with a lot of my buddies, and it's a blast because it's essentially hide and seek with serial killers, if you want to go that way. So the cool thing is the concept is baked into the world. So the idea is that it's almost like that show Lost, and like there's a bunch of survivors that wind up in this area where they have to escape, and every time they escape, they wind up back in this world where they have to escape again, and there's a killer hunting them, and so essentially you're hiding from one person plays the killer and is chasing everybody down, and the survivors really aren't. You're not strong. You can't fight back. You have to unlock all these generators to open up the level so you can escape from the killer. But the killers have supernatural powers, and eventually they started getting licenses. So you have Jason. No, you have Jason. You have Freddy Krueger. You have Michael Myers, not the guy in
Pinhead
the
was in
guy in
there.
the Halloween movie.
I think Bruce Campbell was in there, wasn't he?
Bruce Campbell's one of the survivors.
Ash.
They have Pinhead from Hellraiser,
I know.
and it's really fun. It's like playing hide and seek with your friends. Super gory, but really
Have you played Predator Hunting Grounds?
Yeah, that game's pretty fun
Same
too.
concept.
Yeah,
Except you play in the Predator. We had a friend on there. I think this guy's a hustler. We would play with these guys, and this guy's like, I've never played this game before. Then he's just destroying us every time. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
He did the same thing in Street Fighter. Never played Street Fighter. He's like doing all the moves. I'm like, I think this guy's like hustling us.
Exactly. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Speaking of Predator, so this is one of my movie pitches. Did you guys anybody see the Predators movie? The one where the Predator taking down like 5 like warriors, basically. Like one was a serial killer, one was a special forces, one was a gangster, that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, I thought it was actually good. I did not get the ending at the serial killer. That whole storyline, I just did not make. We're about to die in a pit. Like now it's time to kill. I'm like, what? Everything else was great, but that I just could not figure out that storyline. So
I wish one of the characters was one of those guys who has the stolen valor. You see these guys trying to get like accolades for being a war vet, but they never served in the military. I wish one of those guys was put on that planet with all the other warriors to fight the Predator. I think that would
like an actual vet.
Yeah, a fake vet, so that would be.
I loved the Predator designs in that movie where they started putting more of like the tusk or like the lower jaw, like that sort of decorating their bodies. I thought they were great. Did you hear about the new Predator movie called Prey?
Oh yeah, it has to do with it's like a Native American girl back in the day, right?
If they do now, if they do it right, I can see this really working. But they did say eventually she starts using like magic, and I'm like, so the Predator's finally hunting Disney princesses. But they said like by the end she's using like magic and stuff. I'm like, no, that's stupid.
Yeah,
because it's like it should be they feed it by her wits. That's fine, but if she's gonna do like magic, no, I just get a feeling she's gonna be like a Mulan, like doing the flipping and stuff. I'm like, no, stop.
Well, sometimes it's the producer or the higher ups that force people to put things in. I was talking to my animation buddies, and one of them said this really funny story about. You seen there was that we're talking about Adam Sandler. He did that animated movie 8 Crazy Nights. Right?
Yeah, which I actually like. I thought that was funny.
So I guess at one point, while they were in production, one of the producers or one of the muckety mucks at the studio saw an early cut of it. And he was like, I don't like this scene. Do you have another take that we could use instead of this take here? And they had to explain to him, like, no, sir, this is animation. We plan out everything. We do not animate multiple angles and scenes because it would cost more money, And that's kind of the headache those guys have to deal with.
Yeah, going through that. There's been a lot of movies. I mean, the Justice League is a classic example of studio interference, getting involved with stuff. But they've actually done the worst offender, and this was done by Cameron himself. You've seen The Abyss, right? By James Cameron. If you've ever seen the director's cut, it is 1,000 times better than the original cut for like an amount of like maybe 10 minutes worth of footage. Yeah. But that 10 minutes explained everything at the end perfectly, and he cut it. And I'm like, really, Cameron? Out of everything you cut, you could have cut some dude walking on the bottom of the ocean, somebody swimming in water, but you had to cut the prime element of the movie. Yeah, the director's cut makes it great. The original, because I remember walking out of that movie just going like,
being confused, right?
What? Yeah, what? And then the director's cut just like, it's a
yeah.
Well, that all right. That brings up to finish up. That brings up a good one. So there's different cuts of movies and stuff like that. Any director's cuts or special edition versions that you like, or what? Or let's just put this. What do you guys take on that? Original Star Wars versus special edition. Which
I have a question for Peter.
Yeah.
Did you see the Lord of the Rings director's cut?
Yeah. What do you think, Peter?
I don't mind them actually. I think Lord of the Rings. I'd love it just as it is, but the extended edition, great. I'll happily watch that even longer. What else would I like? Blade Runner, the original extended. I really like that. Yeah. Actually, Batman Superman. The extended edition makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I've not seen Justice League. I've not seen it since. I haven't seen the extended Snyder cut thing.
That one is
That's
a whole
wasn't any
different
available
movie.
anyway.
Yeah.
Is it better?
It's like
The
4 hours
Snyder
compared
Cut?
to 2 hours. So
It-
with
it-
4 hours extra content.
It's more
Yeah,
like a
it's-
mini series versus an actual movie. you
Yeah.
know?
It's incredibly better.
Mm.
It really is. It's a completely different movie. It's not like Joss Whedon's movie added stuff that he just like completely. Yeah, it's a lot better as far as what he wanted to do. Yeah, I like those directors' cuts. They did one of this movie called Sucker Punch that Zack Snyder did. Sucker
I've
Punch, I
seen
guess,
that,
is
yeah.
a. And the director's cut actually added a scene in that kind of explained a lot of the movie. Again, I don't understand why the directors continuously cut pivotal scenes of the movie.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
I don't understand, like, why. He added this little cut scene of her meeting this and to like explain the whole concept of the movie. I'm like, oh, that's great. Why did you cut that?
Yeah. Why is that getting cut then?
I just did not get it at all. So yeah, but that was another one that was a good. I actually, the only director's cut I did not, strangely enough, like was Legend.
Oh yeah, with the different soundtrack, right?
Yeah, it just didn't work. And he added some scenes in where I'm like, that was the first time I kind of like, okay, I understand why these were cut. Yeah, that Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack. That was such an iconic soundtrack. When he changed it, I'm like, it's not working for me. That's the only director's cut I really haven't liked. I've not seen the Richard Donner director's cut of Superman yet, which I'd like to eventually see. Because I know he put out one of Superman 1 and I think of 2.
I heard it's really good. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was
Yeah,
really
I've
good.
heard they're good. But most of the time I usually get director's cuts. I just assume they're better and more coherent. Because,
You hope so, wouldn't you?
You hope so, yeah.
Yeah, it's more information, so. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you think every bit of the movie, there may be a little fluff in it, but for the most part, every scene is an important element of the story that, lets you know something kind of relevant.
There was another movie they did. I don't
Did
know if
did we need the special editions to all of the Star Wars 4, 5, and 6? Did we actually
No, I
need
mean,
that?
I feel like it was basically they were doing R&D for the prequels and like let's make use of the R&D work.
Yeah.
So
I never really. I don't know. Those never really. It bothered me that too terribly much. It was interesting to go back and compare what he did to what I always like comparison stuff.
Yeah, but did it make it any better? In this particular case,
I mean, that's an argument you can have for every single reboot or remake that's been done in movie history the last few years.
Didn't he change to one of them and where it wasn't Han who shot first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouldn't meddle with stuff. I'm all for just adding in the bits that you got cut out, but don't start changing the film.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't change the storyline.
I don't like the different ending kind of alternate version cuts.
There was one movie called The Descent. If you guys have never seen, if you like horror,
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. What was that about?
It's a horror movie. It's fantastic.
I remember the
It's
name. So which one was it?
It's about these. I think they're 5 girls that go spelunking. It was like, and it starts off with
yes,
death of this girl, like loses her
Aaron's
family.
private collection.
That was crazy.
It is, yeah. And it was, and they go spelunking. As they go spelunking in this cave, they actually kind of get stuck. This lady took them down the cave that wasn't explored, and so as they go down, they basically encounter the subterranean like creatures that like basically like these humanoids that are almost like live on the ground. They click like bats and they're blind.
It was creepy.
Yeah. But the director's ending, because I saw the American ending, and I'm like, because Americans always have to. But the director's ending was fantastic. It was just because it was like a descent into madness and everything else. I'm like, I never saw the sequel. I didn't need a sequel. So when they brought a Descent 2, I'm like, no, you don't need a sequel to that. That was perfect the way it was done. So yeah, it's just one of those really good. It's like half of the movie's like nature survival, and the other half is like. But then what's interesting in the movie is all the women just kind of start turning on each other. It's just like when all hell breaks loose, it's like who's going to stand up, and could you find out
so much for being a tight knit group? They're not.
Yeah, they just basically turn on each other. It's if you like psychology, it's really good. I know I really liked. I was more surprised than I thought I would be. So yeah.
Well, guys, we're at the tail end of this thing. As we always do, we'll finish up So remember to 1, 2,
I've got a
3.
band.
Neither do I.
Big
Big
It's
time
Silverline.
That's
Silverline.
right. I'm gonna sing that.
Everybody, take care, and we'll see you on
Get out of the way.
My name is Ross Ritchie from Boom Studios, and make mine Silverline.